All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast, episode number 32. This is your co host, John Duncan, and I'm joined as always by my co host, Steve Irvine. And, buddy, how about those Blazers getting the sweep in Denton, Texas this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, what a great weekend. I mean, really just so. I guess just such a tough, gritty effort by this group, and and it's been all year long. Coach Andy Kennedy's talked all year long about grinding things out, and
Right.
that's what they did. I mean, it's just an experienced group of guys that just find ways to win, and I thought the game plan and the job that Andy Kennedy and his staff did, all weekend was tremendous, and to go in a place that North Texas. I mean, they had only lost there once this year, and tough
Right.
place to play. And honestly, it was pretty loud in there. And maybe they didn't get the numbers that they've gotten usually because of the regulations. But I thought there was some noise going on in there, and just to play through everything. Score 65 points both games, but it was
Right.
kind of a different script both each game, and you know obviously Ertl had a huge weekend, offensively,
Yes.
but there were so many guys that made plays, and some I mean Tony getting a chance to get in there and make a contribution on Saturday, and um, I thought Benjamin, obviously on Saturday he didn't have he only played 13 minutes on Saturday, but he had a couple key 3 pointers early in the game that kind of I think helped him
Set the
get going
tone.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, helped him get going offensively, and so I just think that you just go down the roster, and and guys made plays, and I think that's one evidence of that is you look at the bench points. I think it was what it was 37-6 or 9 or something advantage over the weekend for UAB from bench points, and part of
Yes.
that obviously is Ertl coming off the bench to get 21 on Friday, but it doesn't matter. I mean, to have that kind of bench production, that's going to win you games. If you can outscore teams that the other bench by that much every game, then you're in pretty good shape. So I think that shows that there's a lot of guys. Everybody just came in and played their role and came out of this with two wins and a bunch of momentum.
Yes, and speaking of those bench points, yeah, Friday was a 28-4 in favor of UAB, and then Saturday was 18 to where was it? Just three.
Three.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So just great, and yeah, it was Ertl getting those 21 points Friday night, and Tyrese Scott Grayson getting those 11 points Saturday. But just really proud of the guys for just playing. Overall, just a great team effort on both nights, and that's what it's going to take for UAB to continue winning in March and hopefully get to the big dance in a couple weeks. But what we'll go ahead and do is we'll recap both the Friday night game and Saturday night game in North Texas and Denton, Texas, and then we'll get you guys ready for the Conference USA tournament where we go into some possible matchups for UAB. But luckily, our Blazers were able to get the sweep in Denton, Texas, 65-51 Friday and 65-61 on Saturday, allowing UAB to clinch that number 2 seed in the West Division to get that bye in the Conference USA tournament. But we'll start with Friday night, Steve. Just, great effort from everybody, but especially Ertl getting 21 points, going 5 of 11 from the field, and importantly, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. It's just great to see Ertl kind of find his shot again. We knew when he transferred from ULM from Monroe that he was a great three-point shooter. We saw some glimpses of that during the season, but overall, he really hasn't done as well as he did last year at ULM. But definitely this weekend, buddy, we definitely saw the old Ertl, and it's just great to see him shooting the ball a lot better, getting that confidence. And this is the time of the year where you want everybody to start clicking. In March, this is where you want to be at your best. And this weekend, especially Friday night too, UAB is playing their best basketball of the year.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing his stat from him was the 4 of 7 from the threes.
Yes.
On Friday night. I mean, because that is something that he struggled with, and like you said, there had early on there were some glimpses of it, but it's gotten really to where he's, where you don't really, I don't really want to see him shoot too many threes.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it when he shoots that little pull up 15-footer because I think that's
Oh,
pretty
yes.
automatic for him. But he's certainly capable, and they do need him shooting threes. And when he can go, 4 or 7, and I just thought he played, both games. I just thought he did such a good job of controlling things. He only had 1 assist all weekend, which is, not what you necessarily want from your point guard, but the way they've built this all year is, they need everybody sharing the ball, and so it's,
Right.
it's not like an Aaron Johnson situation where you got one guy that gets the bulk of the assists, or squeaky, or just they kind of spread that around purposely, and but I just thought he played really tough 2 games against the physical, defense that's, is built on being physical,
Oh, yeah.
and I thought that, I really, watching both games, I didn't really think that North Texas really got into their physical, the way they play defense until the second half on Saturday. I didn't think
Yeah.
they played very physical in the first game or the first half of Saturday, but I think the second half of Saturday, they really did. They finally, I guess McCaslin or somebody lit a fire on them, and they got physical, and the refs started letting them do it. And
Yeah.
but I thought he really responded to that. I mean, I thought he really responded, to that, and kind of controlled things, and really with great weekend. And it's a great, it's a great boost for him, going into this conference tournament.
And speaking of the physicality of both games, how about Trey Jemison on
Oh,
Friday night
geez.
and Saturday? I mean, I think he was only credited with 4 blocks for the weekend, but I swear his presence was known to North. It's almost like North Texas was scared to go into the paint, really, with him there, because every time they went in, he would alter the shot or block it. Just great
Yeah.
overall for Jemison. And then, getting 11 points on Friday, and then Saturday he only had 7. But I mean, the stats don't really indicate what he did this past weekend in Denton, Texas, because Jemison was just the total package for UAB. Just nobody, he stayed out of foul trouble too. He ended up having 4, but a couple of those were late in Saturday's
Yeah,
game.
well, they were real late. I don't think he had
Yeah,
his first one. Yeah, and a couple of them too. I mean, I thought he went straight up a lot. He wasn't doing a lot of reaching. He wasn't coming. And they
right.
got him a couple times, but how tentative did he make Zachary Simmons too?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, Zachary Simmons,
he
who's
traveled
a
like 6 or 7 times.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, and he's a solid player, and there were times where he, you could see him, maybe have the baseline, and he wouldn't even take it,
right.
because because of Jemison, and I think that was huge. I mean, that kind of took that away from them offensively, and yeah, I thought he was sensational, and we've talked before, and I'm believing this. You can't always believe stats,
No,
and it also is, some of the shots that he altered or even tipped a little bit are not called blocks at on the road when they might be at home.
yeah, agreed.
There's certain stat crews in this conference. I'm not going to name any names, Marshall, that that tend to pad those type of numbers. So
Yes,
that's okay. It doesn't really matter because what matters is how you impact the game, and he had a huge impact on both those games and this weekend.
definitely. And we've already mentioned the bench points on both games on Friday and Saturday, but 3-point shooting was a lot better this weekend, especially Friday. UAB shot the ball from downtown 41.7%, which is insane. Again, that's 5 of 12 from downtown. And Saturday, they were 4 of 9 for 44.4%. So just shooting the ball a lot better, mainly from with the 3-pointers coming from Jalen Benjamin and Mike Ertl. But it's just great to finally see us making some shots from downtown, and just really good for UAB. Like I said, we mentioned the bench points, but let's talk about too. Like, I felt, Steve, that for the majority of the 50-50 balls, I feel like we got most of those balls. We were diving around to get the ball.
Oh,
We just seemed honestly like we wanted it more, which is really surprising. Where North Texas, if they would have just won, if they would have won both of them, they would have clinched the number 1 seed in the West Division. And
yeah,
UAB just came in and looked like the
yeah.
more motivated team.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think, McCaslin, I saw some quotes from him after the game. He pretty much said that they, the
Yeah.
UAB was getting, was out hustling, getting to those loose balls, getting on, on the boards. And, yeah, I think that certainly UAB looked like the most motivated team. And that's where I think you give credit to Andy Kennedy and his staff.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
to going in a tough situation and and getting these guys motivated and not that you have to do a lot of more motivating with this group, I don't think, because I think this group is a experienced group and a tough group, but you do have to do some, and yeah, it was. I mean, I just thought that I think that if UAB plays this way this next week, they've got a darn good chance of doing some good things in this tournament.
Agreed.
And you go back to just real quick back to the 3-point shooting. You talked about how they shot well from there. I thought what they did was they took good threes.
Yes.
There wasn't a lot of coming up and 4 seconds into the shot clock
yeah.
throwing up a three. There was one. Ertl took one, forced one, and but other than that, I thought that and on Saturday he took a forced one. But other than that, I thought that the threes were in the flow. Good shots, open.
Oh yeah.
Work the ball around and get it instead of coming up and just chunking it.
Great
And
ball movement. Yeah.
yeah. And so if they do that, they're going to be, they can shoot the three if they do it that way.
Yeah.
Now when they get in trouble.
Against North Texas. They're one of the best defensive, other than UAB, the best defensive team in the league. So
well, they were the two best. That's the two best defenses in the league right there. And I mean, those cats play defense now. I mean, they'll get after you, and they're physical and they're they got some long guys. I mean, yeah, that's a good defensive team. I mean, there's no doubt that's a good defensive team. And I thought UAB was in a nice offensive flow, particularly for the first 3 halves. All Saturday and I mean all Friday and the first half of Saturday. I thought things at times got a little tough in the second half because of I thought that they were allowing them to get away with some stuff that was a little too physical, but they were allowing them to get away with it and on both ends. I'm not saying it was I there was one call though that the call in the second half of Saturday's game where Ertl pump fakes the guy, gets the guy in the air, and then the guy hits him on his way down as he's shooting, and they called the ball out of bounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an old man, and I've been watching basketball for a long time, and I don't know that I've ever seen that not be a foul.
No,
I mean,
right.
ever. Because it's foul. But
yes.
But that was one call, and that's all right. But it. I thought that let them get away with some physical stuff, but they would let them get UAB do the same thing, and that's when that's when both of those teams are at their best when they're letting these guys be physical,
right?
And and it might in some ways might ugly up the game a little bit, but that's okay. That's what UAB right now needs to grind their way through, and so, but I don't know that it certainly wasn't worth talking about refs or calls or anything from this one because it was a pretty weekend.
Yes, well, I will go ahead and mention just a couple things officiating wise on Saturday that kind of blew my mind. I'm sure it blew Kennedy's mind too. And in fact, I think he actually talked about it in the post game. But there was one point on Saturday's game in the second half where UAB had the ball and North Texas. I can't remember which guy from North Texas, but he got the ball and just threw it across the court. But then the ref blew the whistle and said that it was a shot clock violation because the shot clock had ran out. But he was saying that the North Texas didn't take possession of the ball, which I don't know what you call possession when a guy gets a ball and chunks it halfway down the court. I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I
that
mean,
was one thing that kind of,
yeah, that was a bizarre play. And the only thing I could see that and I don't agree with this, but the only thing I could see is, because the ball was going out of bounds, he ran and got it, and was in the air, got it, and then was in the air when he made the pass, and UAB caught the pass,
yeah.
and should have had. So maybe he was saying that because he was in the air, he didn't have full possession. Would be the only thing I could think of,
Okay.
even though that's not true. But I mean,
Yeah.
but maybe that's the only thing I could think of, because that was a bizarre sequence. Because how do you make a pass, a 30-foot pass, without having some sort of possession?
Exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah,
swear too. There were a couple other times during the game that on some just loose balls where North Texas barely touched the ball and hurried up and got a timeout to
yeah,
maintain possession. I'm like, well, if that's the same thing, then you're saying he has possession there when he's barely touching the ball and hurrying up and calling timeout. But on this instance, he didn't have possession. So I don't know, and that's just one of those things. When you play on the road, the home team's gonna get calls and yada yada. We know that too. We've gotten calls in Bartow, as we mentioned before. But definitely, UAB, great job Friday night and Saturday night. And, we talked about it in our preview episode, Steve, is that we felt that UAB would have the advantage on rebounds. And that definitely showed itself Saturday, where UAB out rebounded North Texas 37-25. But more importantly, UAB with 15 offensive rebounds to North Texas only having 7 offensive rebounds. So UAB didn't shoot the ball as well as they did Friday night, only shooting 38.8% from the field Saturday. But those offensive rebounds were able to give UAB those second chance opportunities on making a basket. And I remember one in particular where Taven Lovin came in and got that rebound and threw it up to get the and one.
oh
That was a
yeah,
very key moment in that second game on Saturday.
yeah, oh absolutely. And Jemison had 6 offensive rebounds. Nicholson
Yes.
had 3. There's between those two guys, you have 9 offensive rebounds. That's going to win you some games. I mean, it
Yes.
certainly is. Yeah, and that goes back to the effort. It just goes
Right.
back to the team that's out hustling and playing. A little more want to than the other for whatever reason, and goes back to that. And
Right.
that's big. That's big. I mean, I kind of talking about that. Kind of go back to that Iowa State game in the NCAA tournament where
Yeah.
Tyler Madison had like 7 or 8 or 6 or whatever it was offensive rebounds,
Oh yeah.
and how big was that in that game? I mean,
Yes.
and that's what people talked about nationally after that game. Part of it, obviously a lot of talk around Robert Brown and just the win itself, but I mean, people you recognize that, that's what wins games, man. Little things that turn into big things, and
Yes.
um, and that's what this team's done well when they're playing well is their little things, whether it be getting your hand in a passing lane and deflecting a ball or hustling down and making a play and what looked like a breakaway or something. Just little things that are huge is what this team's done when they're playing well.
Yes. And one thing that kind of worried me going into Saturday's game is that, typically all season we've seen, especially during conference play, we've seen UAB play for the most part extremely well and very energized on Friday night's game. But when it came Saturday, it seemed that we didn't bring the same energy to say, but they definitely brought it this weekend in Denton, Texas on Saturday. So great to kind of see that because, you go back to, what was it, the Charlotte series? We killed them Friday night and then Saturday. It just seemed that they were kind of off or just not as motivated. And in some other games, Southern Miss where we played well Friday and then Saturday kind of slumped around. But it's just definitely great to see UAB play 2 straight games, 2 straight physical games, and still have the same energy. And it's March Madness, man, and this is the time
Yeah.
where you want to, and you have to bring the energy. And we've said it before, and I said it earlier in this episode that UAB to win ball games, it's going to have to be a total team effort, and UAB definitely showed that Friday night and Saturday, where UAB Friday the game really wasn't in doubt. UAB led by as much as, I think, 17 points. Saturday led by as many as 13, but North Texas definitely made it close towards the end. But UAB kept their focus, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about something that I was really happy to see. Not only than the three-point shooting, Steve, but how about the free throw shooting this weekend? I mean, UAB just
it was automatic. It was
right,
automatic.
Yeah. 14 and 19 Friday, and then Saturday even bet 23-27.
Yeah, on Saturday especially, they go to the line, and you just think, okay, well, they're going to make it. I mean, you just. And you certainly in the past you hadn't been able to think that about this team, but but I mean I'm watching that yesterday and I'm thinking like they get fouled out, okay, well there's two, and it was automatic, and that's going to win you games. And hey, we as observers, as fans, as people outside the program, have had such a knee-jerk reaction to everything that's happened in the last 4 or 5 weeks.
It's easy to do
because you're rolling, going and rolling, and then you get to the toughest part of your schedule,
right?
In the toughest format that you've ever played in these back-to-back games like this, and every little thing that goes wrong, it's just a knee-jerk, like, oh, they can't do this, and oh, they can't do that, and what you kind of lose sight of is you're learning and getting better during this type of time.
Right.
You're not, I mean, you're getting better and you're learning when you're rolling, but when you're going through these grinded out, good time, bad time, roller coaster type week, 5 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is, that's right. When you get better, and that's what was so good about this weekend is, to me, they showed what they've learned the last 3 or 4 weeks of some tough times. Yeah. Whether it be, whether it be the
I mean, hell, you go from giving up almost 100 in the second game of San Antonio, and then, okay, well, let's learn from it. What did we do wrong? Right. What did we do? And then they did. Exactly. They learned. Yeah. So.
Right. And too many times we tend to overblow what happened, say, in that game.
Yeah.
It was one night that the other team played really well. You didn't play that well. They played well.
Right.
And they're capable. They got the two best scorers in the conference.
And hell, Friday night, UAB shut down Javon Jackson, the Friday night game of that series. So
they did, yeah. And I thought this weekend they did a good job on Hamlet.
Yeah.
I thought Hamlet, I mean, he got us some points, but I thought they did a good job on him.
Can we talk about his teardrop shot? I swear, every time Hamlet did that, he'd make it. Like, it just seemed automatic. It's just crazy. Yeah.
Oh, he's super now. I mean, the kid's good. And he's kind of, he's fearless and I mean, he's good. But they did a good job on him. And again, I don't look at, other than if a guy goes off for 40, you look at points. But I don't really look at points as being the best indication of what kind of job you did on him. Unless they really go off, unless they either really go off or they get nothing, but he had 19 one game, I think 16 the other. I think those were his numbers. But I thought they made it difficult on him and, made it tough for him to do. And he's tremendous. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, he's tremendous. I thought they did a great job on, I thought UAB did a great job on Reese.
Yes.
Because, I thought that, when Hamlet's struggling to having to work for stuff, Reese is a guy that's kind of coming in behind him and can take over a little bit. And, I thought they really did a nice job on him all weekend. Didn't let him get off on him, even though, he was 3 or 4 in threes, including some key ones in the second half of the Saturday game. But, I thought they did a pretty good job of him. And, so anyway, I guess that's a long-winded way of saying it. We've reacted a lot over the last 4 or 5 weeks, but I really think they've learned from those times and become a better team and a team capable of doing what they did this weekend.
Yes, and UAB improves to 21-6 overall and 13-5 in conference play after these 2 victories in Denton, Texas over the Mean Green. And I guess we can go ahead and talk about the all-important Conference USA tournament this week, guys, where UAB did clinch the number 2 seed in the West Division. And what that means is that UAB does not have to play until Thursday night, March 11th. The tournament is actually going to start this Tuesday night, March the 9th, and UAB will await the winner of the Marshall game Wednesday night. Marshall will play the winner of Rice or Southern Miss. They'll play that game Wednesday night at 6 p.m. So UAB will get the winner of that matchup on Thursday at 6 p.m., and that will be televised on Stadium. So let's kind of talk about this bracket, Steve. UAB, it's going to be hard because UAB is at the top portion of the bracket with Western Kentucky, which, of course, is the number 1 seed out of the East Division. So if UAB is able to get the victory Thursday night in the quarterfinals, they would face more than likely Western Kentucky Friday at 11 a.m. on CBS Sports Network. So we're not going to get ahead of ourselves, though, but we're just kind of talk about the bracket and just see, it's going to be tough for UAB. But as I said earlier, and we agreed on that, UAB is playing their best basketball right now. And we got the all-important bye, so UAB doesn't have to play until Thursday night. So we've got a couple of days to rest, and we definitely needed it. We need it because we've had such a physical matchup series in Denton against North Texas. So it'll be great to rest up a little bit. But I'm sure Kennedy will, get them in the gym in Bartow and get them practicing and getting ready for the matchup Thursday. But more than likely, it's going to be against Marshall. But just got to wait and see, man. Anything can happen in March, especially in these tournaments during March Madness. But I do like where UAB is in this tournament, and just got to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, looking at the bracket, your natural instinct is look at the bracket and, break down, well, I'd rather be in this, in this part of it, or I'd rather be in that part of it. I don't think this conference right now is so just even.
Oh yeah, anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah, anybody can, and so you just never know. Now I do think that a potential, you got to beat Marshall, Western Kentucky, and say Louisiana Tech to win this thing. That's a pretty tough road, but it's a tough road everywhere you go through it. So you just worry about one at a time and just coming out and playing, and that's what I do like the experience. I mean, I've said this a bunch in this podcast, but I really mean it. I mean, I really like the experience of this team, and they're an older group of guys, and I think that that's the type of teams that have a chance to make a run in this thing, and got to do what you're good at. Hey, if it's Marshall, that's a tough. I mean, Tavion Kinsey is as good as probably the second best player in this league behind Bassey. Yeah. Some think he's the best player in this league, and maybe he is. But he's incredibly athletic, and he's a guy, and they're a group of guys that have been around. Jared West has played a lot of games, a really good point guard. Andrew Taylor's played a lot of games for him last 2 years. Jansen Williams has come on this year, I think, and played, and so they've got some guys, and they play a style that they like to get up and down. I don't know if they get up and down as much as they did when they had Elmore and those guys, but they do like to get up and down, and right. So that'll be a tough matchup. And hey, if it's somebody else, Rice, we saw him. We saw him in Bartow. Right. They're certainly capable if they're hitting the three. They're certainly capable of pulling an upset, and that would be a tough matchup. And so you just never know at this time. You just got to kind of, the good thing is, and you said this, the good thing is you got some rest time and some time to get ready and get prepared, and you'll have plenty of time to watch who you're going to play and study all three teams just in case, and then get started in this thing. And so I like where UAB's at right now. I mean, I like but I say that about a lot of teams. I like where Louisiana Tech's at. I like where West Kentucky's at. I like where Old Dominion's at, and honestly, North Texas is capable. They had a bad last weekend, but they were playing well coming into it. So, there's a lot of teams now. I could see why they're confident coming into this thing, and um, we just let it play out how it plays out, and and two, I think a lot of times we overlook coaching at this time of year too, and I think that I really love the job that Andy Kennedy and his staff has done. So I like that going into it. I think that he's going to be able to out prepare some guys in this thing, maybe, and you have to do it quickly, even though, for the first one, if you get a bye, you don't have to do it quickly, but, after that you do. And so, it'll be fun. I mean, it's exciting going into this thing, thinking that you got a chance to win it. And you could say that for 6 or 7 teams, that they come into this thing with the true confidence that they can win it. And, but you have to do it one at a time. And, I remember the old, I can't think of these terms without thinking Mike Anderson's Survivor in Advance.
Yes.
I mean, gosh almighty, would he say that over and over and over. But it's true. I mean, it's true that you're just looking to survive that game, and however it happens, if it's a 2-point win or a 1-point win,
right.
That's great. That's great. I mean, you don't get too, in my opinion, you can't get too overcome with how pretty it is. Like you can't. I don't believe in this time of year that you should spend a lot of time in saying, "Well, we didn't do this. We should have done that." No, you won the game.
You still won, exactly.
If you won the game, it doesn't matter what you didn't do and should have done. You won the game. Move on.
Exactly.
And learn from it. Inside the program, learn from it and move on. But that's what this is all about. And I, like I say, I've got a lot of confidence in this team having that they're going to have a good tournament. What that means at the end, I don't know, but I think it's going to be a good tournament.
Agreed. And real quick, Steve, I will say too that I'm glad this tournament's in Frisco, Texas, instead of Memphis.
Yeah. I tell you, I got a lot of great memories of those Memphis tournaments. Even though it was obviously it was foregone conclusion when you went over there.
Right.
But there was a lot of good times and some tough losses, obviously.
Yes.
But and I will say this: Memphis put on a heck of a tournament. I mean, it was the Memphis Invitational. I understand that, and but they put on a heck of a tournament, and it was it was some good times. You just you didn't want it to end like it did, but unless you're Memphis, but yeah, I mean, and we've talked before too. Is I'm one of the few people in this world that don't dislike Frisco. The setup, the setup that is. I don't dislike it, but I know I'm a big minority there.
Well, I was going to say, did you see where the NCAA, they're having like a bubble atmosphere for the NCAA tournament, but they're going to adopt the curtain from Conference USA and play 2 games at once. Did you see that?
I did not. No, I didn't. I did not see that. I don't know. That's a bad thing, though. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I still hate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and I know a lot of people do, and a lot of people think it's rinky dink and whatever else. But I don't know. It's different, and obviously, if the NCAA is adopting it for that, I mean, they're looking for different. Of course, this is a different tournament than usual.
Yeah. Right.
And you're looking for ways to do it different, but I don't know. I like it. I mean,
well, look at Conference USA setting the tone. Yeah, being the example that the NCAA can use. Judy McCloud.
There you go. We're all you people now. We're all you naysayers now. But yeah. I mean, again, I like unique stuff, and I tell you. One thing about that NCAA tournament, if my team makes a tournament and I don't get to play in Hinkle Fieldhouse, I'm mad.
Yes,
I am mad.
I would love to play there. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, I went there. Obviously UAB played Butler, and when Mike Davis was here, and man, what a fun atmosphere, what a special place that was. And just couldn't think of. I couldn't quit smiling the whole night, because I'm sitting there, man, I'm in Hinkle. I'm at Hoosiers here, baby.
Yes.
But but of course, there's a long way to go for anybody worries about that. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
just take care of what you can take care of now, and get healthy. I mean, I think that's what's the one thing that's really great about this bye is,
Yes.
and you said it, but just you're able to kind of get some nicks and bruises, and rest a little bit, and then get out there and try to win a conference.
Yes. Survive and advance. That's going to be the motto for this week. So, real quick though, before we wrap up, I wanted to just make sure that everybody knew that they're not going to allow fans for the Conference USA tournament in Frisco. It'll just be media and I think players, family, that in the stands. So it's going to be a very unique conference tournament. Now, a lot of these Conference USA teams, they had limited crowds this year anyway. So I guess it won't be as unique, but it'll be unique for the tournament per se. But again, UAB quarterfinals, Thursday night, 6 p.m. Central Time. It'll be on Stadium. I'm not sure if it'll be on Stadium on Facebook or the regular Stadium, but make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at twitter.com/BlazerPod, and we will definitely let you guys know when they officially announce that. Because remember, in Frisco, they've got 2 games going on at the same time. So the first quarterfinal game that night is going to be at 5:30. Western Kentucky will play the winner of UTSA and Charlotte. And then 30 minutes later on the second court, UAB is going to face the winner of Marshall or Rice or Southern Miss. And I'm not going to say I'm going to be rooting for either Rice or Southern Miss, but it'll be good because UAB's already swept Rice and Southern Miss during the year. So it would be good to kind of see one of them Thursday night. But I think UAB matches up well against Marshall too. So just got to rest up and get ready.
Yeah, and real quick on the fan, or kind of going back to the fans not being able to be there, we got to do a little investigation to see if our friend John Valakis, Donnie Vines, and guys are John Valakis is a big friend of our podcast here.
Yes.
They've gone, and their group has gone.
They've gone
to
El Paso and everywhere.
I think they've gone to, and I don't remember the number now. I mean, because I hadn't had a chance to talk to John, but I think it's over 20, maybe like 25 straight or something like that. I mean, maybe more.
Oh no!
I mean, they've literally gone to, and they were there last year for the one game. So I certainly hope that I hadn't called Sean. I certainly hope that the conference or somebody finds tickets for those guys.
Yes.
Because I would hate to see a streak like that end on something like this. And I need to contact John, or John, you'll be listening to this. I know. Give me a call. Let me know if I need to get the president involved, or if we need to get some national attention on this, because we got to get those guys into the star for this thing, because I'd hate to see that streak broken in this way. But and they've been some loyal guys, and they've been to, they when you travel all the way to El Paso, and you get one ugly game, and then you have to sit there waiting on your flight for 3 days or whatever it is, you're a dedicated fan, and so we gotta get to work on that.
Yes, and real quick, Matthew Vincent, buddy, you're another one of those. I know you've been to a bunch of the tournaments too, so
and he'll be there.
Hopefully y'all can find a way. Yes, but guys, thank you so much for listening to us. Just please help us spread the word about this podcast. Just make sure all the UAB fans, all of us, let them know about we do exist. Blazer Victory Podcast. You subscribe to us on either Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, just a bunch of different places, YouTube too. So just help us get the word out about the podcast, and we're going to cheer on our Blazers this week, starting Thursday night at 6 p.m. And we'll see you guys next week to recap what happens down at the Star in Frisco, Texas. But you guys be safe out there, and we'll see you next week. Go Blazers.